You're at your old trusty boat. You call mighty sparrow. I'm in the city of Mardi Gras.
Welcome to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast, where we hear stories from everyday people who do extraordinary things. I'm your host, Jerome Rand. Hey, everybody. Just a couple quick notes on today's podcast. So this one was kind of strange. This was taken the day that I had to sort of make a decision on whether or not to continue the voyage or head back after sort of realizing that the damage to the bowsprit might be a little more than I can handle. And I was essentially Hove-to from very early in the morning and stayed that way most of the day. And I think I was just in a pretty strange mindset trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I sort of go into that a little bit. I was thinking maybe not putting this one out there. Not that it's crazy or anything. I don't want to get your expectations up. It's more just sort of rambling and trying to talk through my situation to myself out there before I was able to get in touch with people back on land. So I don't know, but in the end, I figure it's part of the story, and sort of needs to be out there. And so I'm just gonna post this one. And I hope you guys enjoy it. There should be at least two or three more of these coming up, and hopefully some more interviews as well. I'm up here in Michigan now, visiting with my parents, and then I'll head back to the boat probably in a few weeks. So other than that, as always, if you enjoy the podcast and want to support it, please go over to patreon.com and look up Sailing into Oblivion, or just pick up a copy of the old Sailing into Oblivion book on Amazon. So other than that, thanks for listening, and enjoy. All right, and we are live here aboard Hove-to Mighty Sparrow. It is November 30th. Shout out to my brother Adam. It's his birthday today. I believe he has turned 41, maybe? Something like that. But we're in a bit of a pickle. So we've been pushing pretty hard to get down south, and we were actually looking pretty good. We're in the southeast trades. Seas have built up a little bit, 3 to 6 feet with the oddball, bigger one. Nothing crazy, but sort of bashing our way through it, because we have to make sure we have a little bit of room in between us and the tip of Brazil. At least that's the game plan. And for the last few days, as the winds have filled in more, I've been sort of pushing the boat a little hard. And last night, essentially took about a succession of, I think, 2 waves. This was sort of in and out of sleep, but I was on deck as soon as we hit the second one, and I just could feel the pain that Sparrow just went through. And my biggest concern was the bowsprit. During that storm going through Wanda, when we were Hove-to, we definitely bashed into some very, very large seas. And essentially the bowsprit on this boat it's 3 large pieces of like Douglas fir, something, I don't know, real strong, sandwiched together. And then it has 2 flat little rails that go along each side so that you can walk up there, you can sit up there, that sort of thing. And essentially in Wanda, after we got out of that and I was able to take a look at everything, those had been sort of popped up, and they separated. So all of the varnish work and all of the I can't even remember what I used to sort of seal those together, or if I've even ever sealed them together. In any event, all that had cracked open, so there was open holes, and there was a bit more flex, and a small crack up on the very forward section, which doesn't take any load per se, so I wasn't too worried about that. But I sealed all those areas with 5200, and then did some pretty heavy duty varnish on the actual bowsprit, the 3 sandwich sheets, because there was tiny gap that had opened up. And so in any event, it was just something where I thought, yeah, okay, well, she went through a bashing, but it's all right. Nothing really, I didn't think it was going to be too big a deal, and I knew I was just going to monitor it. Well, after now 2 weeks of sort of bashing, and especially last night, pushing the boat a little too hard, essentially the 2 posts that anchor that little foot rail down into the cap rail onto the boat, those popped out. So and that's something I don't know. I don't think I have the ability to actually fix that in any proper way, shape, or form right now, or even on a flat calm sea. Possibly, if I head back to the doldrums, I might be able to find a position that's calm enough and everything, so that I could sort of take it all apart and put it all back together. But the reality of that situation is kind of crazy. I think, we've been working really hard. I've had to head north twice now to try and edge our way a little more to the east, because when we're essentially trying to get away from Wanda, I headed south instead of more southeast or east, because I figured I would be able to catch more easterly northeast winds on my way down and then cut over, and that didn't happen. And so I found myself not far enough east, so I needed to really bash my way over, but it wasn't looking too good, and so I kept heading north, back into the lightning and all that stuff for the doldrums. Long story short, it's been a pretty tough couple of weeks, but it seemed like we were pretty much good to go, and I think that's why I was pushing the boat so hard. But yeah, so at this point, I'm weighing all of the sort of options that I have, and looking at sort of the reality of my situation. And over the next 4 hours, I'll be getting in touch with friends and family, my weather guys, all that sort of stuff, and try and see what they have to say. I'd like to get sort of their opinion on the matter, especially my brother Adam, because he's done a lot of work, not a lot of woodwork, but he has done quite a bit of boat right stuff. And yeah, just kind of I want to see what's their take on the situation is. But for me now, and part of the reason I want to do this podcast, while we're sitting here Hove-to, and for the first time in forever, it is not, we're not just pushing. So I don't know, it's an interesting feeling. But I just wanted to sort of talk myself through some of my options and some of the pros and cons of what's going on. So I think one of the first things is taking a look at the reality of what will happen if I continue on south to try to get to Cape Horn. And looking at the chart, I'm at 3 degrees south. I'm going to be beating into the southeast trades for at least until probably 2025 south. So that's quite a ways. 20 times 6, it's like 1,500 miles probably. So that's a good another 12 to 2 weeks, 12 days to 2 weeks. And we're talking beating into it. And sometimes, sometimes these seas can get, up in the 8 to 10 foot, 12 foot range. So we're talking about a lot more smashing the bow into that, because I can't peel off the wind, because I'll end up running into South America, that pesky old continent down there. And then go further down, you're in the variables, and then obviously the goal here was to try and round Cape Horn backwards, which is different than pounding your way into the trade winds. There's just the systems that roll around down there. There's wiggle room as far as how you get around them and all that sort of stuff. You get winds from essentially all different directions. So, but the chance of running into weather as bad or much worse than Wanda is, I don't think, a reality. I think it's a certainty. And there's going to be positions where I have to Hove-to or I have to forereach. I'm not going to be able to just sit there and run like I would if I was headed the other direction. So that being said, out loud and just thinking about the condition of the bowsprit, which is absolutely questionable. I think I've just answered my own question, to tell you the truth. Because the realities of that are just a continued pressing and bashing, and that the bowsprit's not going to get any better, even if I try and fix it. I'm not 100% confident in my ability to be able to fix that thing outside of a boatyard properly. In my estimation, I would like to take the entire bowsprit apart, and all the way down. There's two big posts that come up through the deck, the bitts, and water has definitely been getting in there. So I don't know if the shock of everything, lifted the deck area or what. I don't really know. I've done sort of a inspection. Everything is soaked up in the little anchor chain locker, which you access from the forward cabin. And when I looked at the bilge, we probably took in maybe 5 gallons over the night. So a gallon an hour. I keep checking it now that we're Hove-to, and no more water has gotten in, which essentially means to me that it's definitely getting in up forward. Because normally Sparrow is a pretty tight boat, except for a few little leaks, here and there, because it's 45 years old. But those are all cosmetic leaks, little things like that. So that's a bit of a worry. To add to that, though, we also, although the batteries have been doing a good job of reclaiming, now they don't dip below 12 volts throughout the night, and that's with nav lights, AIS, and all the fans are on. So I think getting that one dud battery out of there has been was sort of the secret to success. And now that we're getting so much bright sunshine every day, the batteries are getting fully topped up. They're doing a whole lot better. But the
The manual bilge pump seems to be, or not the manual, the automatic bilge pump. The electric one seems to be malfunctioning. Now I have a backup, and I'm gonna probably hook that one in a little later on today. But it was kind of, I don't know, it was a bit of a shock to have 5 gallons of water sloshing around underneath the in the bilge, and then turn the bilge pump on and not have that work. So I just had to manually do it. And the manual one works. It works great. It's amazing how much water those manual bilge pumps pump out. It's pretty ridiculous. But it's also something I don't, if I don't have to do it, I don't want to. But I don't know. That's going to be kind of interesting either way. If I decide to continue on, obviously I'm going to have to monitor all that and the water intake, and even if I end up heading back towards the States, it's another 4,500 miles or something to get back there. But it will be off of the wind sailing, so I don't know. When you're off the wind on this boat, there's way less water sloshing all over the foredeck and everything. So those are sort of the issues. And yeah, I guess looking at other options, I did think maybe cutting out just the Cape Horn section and going down south, maybe just dip into the Southern Ocean sort of thing. But again, that doesn't alleviate another 2 weeks of beating. And then in the variables, the South Atlantic sometimes can be a pretty ugly place. Some of the storms that come off of like Argentina and stuff, I don't know. I look back on my chart from the trip around the world, and I saw 3 gales all around like 30 degrees south, somewhere around there. So, yeah. This is not exactly my happiest day. And what I think some of the stuff that really troubles me about having to call it and head back is just there's a lot of people that have watched and are sort of involved with the trip. There's a few classrooms full of kids. I don't know, and for me, a big part of this obviously is going to be like ego, and I'm trying to take that out of the equation. It is a little, it's a little easier to not be too upset about having to turn back because of some of the trips I've done before. It's not as though I have some big thing to prove. It's not my big trip to go around the world. I did ask myself, what would I have done had this sort of thing happened? And I pulled we had damage to the bowsprit. The anchor bolt for the staysail came out. That's in the Southern Ocean. But when you're down there, there's not a whole lot else you can do but figure it out and hope for the best. And part of that leads into sort of, it was something that I had told Peter Lawless, who had steering issues and had to stop his attempt at the solo nonstop, and pretty upset about it, obviously. But I told him that, at least it happened where it happened, and you weren't down in the Indian Ocean, because when guys like he and I, or Randall Reeves, Matt Rutherford, when we go out there and just do our own trip, no organized race, no big sponsored team behind you, all that sort of stuff, we're on our own. And it's not like a scrambling of things happen when you need real help down there. So I'm trying to look at it as, right now I'm in a good position to be able to cut right back to the Northeast and beeline it for the United States. It'll take 45 days or something like that. But it's going to be downwind sailing for the vast majority of it, which will take the pounding out of the equation. And obviously, I have to take it pretty easy as far as what sails I throw up on that bowsprit. But yeah, it's one of those things where had this happened down in the variables or happened down, you know what though? I mean, if it gets worse down by like Cape Horn and stuff, then it's pretty much you just run with it, get across the South Atlantic, and then run back up. So there is that option. And I suppose, well, one of the problems though, if it gets real bad, as I'm beating down there'll be a point where I'm beating down towards Cape Horn, and then to turn around and come back to get around Brazil again, I'll basically be having to beat into the easterlies. So that if things went awry, say I go down for 10 days and then get in some weather and blow the bowsprit right up, then I have to basically turn around and beat into the wind. Sorry, I'm just talking my way. I just want to see how many things I can kind of come up with. I don't know. Or I'm just trying to talk myself out of it. I don't know. It's such a weird place to be in, on the last trip. The decision was made for me, and even though it sent me into the Atlantic during hurricane season, I didn't have any choice in the matter. And this time I sort of have it's up to me on whether or not, I think the question really is, do I think that the bowsprit and Sparrow are ready and in good condition to continue on and do what needs to be done to get around into the Pacific, or is she not? And right now, I know I'm not very comfortable with it. It definitely doesn't seem like it would be the smartest decision. It definitely doesn't seem like the smartest decision. And there's that old sort of saying, sometimes the hardest thing is to make the right decision. I guess in a lot of ways it just comes down to why keep going? Why keep going if I don't feel comfortable and confident in the boat, as opposed to head back, get the boat in the condition it needs to be in, learn from sort of the mistakes I made, try and maybe improve upon that bowsprit a little bit, shore it up some more maybe, and then I have the option to go back out and do it again, the following year. Because Cape Horn ain't going anywhere. Man, this one's a toughie. It's going to be really interesting to see what some of the other guys say. I mean, I know what my mom's going to say. Obviously, she's going to be pretty stoked. And she's going to tell me I need to come back now. I wonder what the old man will say. My brother. Man. It is tough. It's really, really tough. It's not a fun position to be in. And I'm definitely feeling Peter's pain out here. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take a quick break here, and then I'll come back. Okay, we're back. Sorry, just got a little emotional there. Suppose that happens. Hard, man. Never really been in this position. I mean, I was trying to think back to the first trip, and there were definitely some trials and tribulations there. Definitely a lot of broken stuff, but nothing even really close to this. Because this just is kind of a vital, it's a vital section of the boat, and it's supposed to be the strongest, toughest part, and it's turning out not to be. But yeah, I don't know. Just now standing up there on deck and looking at it and looking at the situation, boy, it seems like it would be rather foolhardy of me to just press on and see how it goes. You know, like I said, I mean, the ocean's always going to be here. It's not like I can't attempt it again. It's a bit of a bummer because, once again, I'm broke. But who knows? Maybe my unsponsored trips are over and it's time to take on some sponsorships for some of these next ones. I don't know. We'll have to see. Still haven't made up my mind, but I think I probably already have. I think I know that the wise decision here is to tuck tail and peel off the wind and head back. And I don't know, I mean, trying to look at some of the positives of doing that, because you got to look at, you know, every single angle here. One, I'll do way less damage to this boat if I have a nice long downwinder back to the States. I will encounter the Christmas winds because it's going to take, I'll be getting, well, yeah, it's going to be rough going for a little bit, but it should all be downwind. Typically, that time of year, it's just going to be really strong easterlies and some northeasterlies. So, but just the whole thing with these west sails and stuff, they are fantastic, unbelievable boats. They just hate going upwind. They're just not designed for cutting through the ocean. They just pound through the ocean. And you know, when I look at that bowsprit now, all I see is like what a vulnerability those side rails are. I mean, they're just this big flat section. They have cutouts, but when you're slamming into the waves and dunking it, I mean, that's a huge amount of pressure because this bow goes up and it comes crashing down when you're really hobby horsing or really pushing hard. And I mean, even when I was Hove-to in Wanda, that we were taking some pretty big drops. Like, you know, you'd feel the boat go up, and I'd sort of almost levitate in the bunk, and or on the floor. I remember sitting on the floor in all my wet weather gear, just listening to it rage out there. Oh my gosh. that's one time where I really wish I would have. One, I wish it would have happened during the day so I could have videoed some of it. And two, I wish I would have taken my little anemometer up there. It's a handheld one, but it would have been kind of nice to see what the peak wind speeds were. I can only estimate, but I don't even want to do that really. Oh, it's blowing 98 miles an hour. No, it's nothing worse than that. Oh man. So. I guess checklist of things that I need to do if I do pull the trigger and we end up going back, I'm gonna have to switch the bunk over to the port side, which will be kind of cool. Give me a little extra headroom. We're gonna have to clean some of this area. I don't know about you guys, but we have been having major mold issues here on Sparrow, like insane, worse than I've ever seen. But I brought bleach and I brought vinegar and been able to sort of tame it down. I've only lost like one box of oatmeal had mold on it, and all the wine bags, the boxes. I'll tell you what, I used to just be a absolute cardinal rule of mine: no cardboard on the boat. But I always thought it was, cockroaches and things like that, bugs. And with the boxes of wine, I was like, hey, it'll be fine. And it was so convenient to be able to stash them there. So I had to unbox, because I still have all these boxes of wine. So I had to unbox them all. I cleaned out the fridge really, really nice yesterday. While we're just pounding into the weather. Oh, man. And so there's a whole bunch of wineskins in there. And so that helps, because, there's nothing squirrelier than the old wine bag without its box. They're all over the place. When we used to go camping up northern Michigan, holy smokes. We'd all take 2 wineskins with us. And, boy, that click, it's coming from right behind my head, and it's it's like this cutaway sort of bulkhead thing, and it's right up against the deck, and all it is that thing is shifting as we go up and over these waves. Even though we're Hove-to, there's still quite a bit of motion out here right now, and man, when it rubs, it's like click. Trying to sleep sometimes with that. Holy cow. But yeah, so wineskins. I'm just, my brain is pretty mashed up. Well, I haven't really been sleeping much on account of the motion of the boat, and we've pretty much had squalls every night. Luckily, the last 2 nights we haven't had lightning, but the previous 10 days we sure did. Some of the squalls up there in the doldrums were absolutely bananas. Scary. I hate that. I hate lightning. But I also realized that, there's nothing you can do about it. So you don't sit there and worry. I just prefer to sit in the cockpit and look at the stars rather than huddle down below and watch the flashing in the sky fill the portholes. So, man, the one of the crazy parts about this whole situation too is that I could sit here Hove-to for a week if I wanted to. I am in literally, well, maybe not the perfect spot, but I'm in a spot where I have a couple 100 miles all around me of just open water. There's no systems coming in. We're in the trades. I can head south. I can head north. So I don't know. It is so crazy. So crazy. This is not I literally 12 hours ago when I was watching the sunset and we started making really good speed. I cracked off the wind just a little bit, and our speed cranked back up to 5-6 knots, and it seemed to be like we weren't bashing quite as bad, or at least not as often. But every once in a while, you'd get some little southerly wave and obviously kind of push through it. But I don't know. I've grown so accustomed to bashing over the last bunch of days. So I don't know. I mean, that's probably the thing that sucks the most about this whole situation is in the end, it's all sort of stringing back to a mistake that I made, a misjudgment after Wanda. Because had I just said, so Wanda was sort of just meandering, and it was actually headed, when it crossed over me, it was headed to the southeast, which is odd, and it was just lumbering around. And had I ridden it out and just gone as far east as I could, 20 degrees west or something, then I would have been pretty much reaching across the wind all the way down. But I guess on the other hand, back to my other point, was that if I had already weakened everything up there on the bowsprit, then this all would probably have happened down near Cape Horn. So that would not be a fun situation to have to go through, to possibly have to pull in somewhere down there or actually be stuck in the Southern Ocean trying to deal with a completely broken bowsprit, taking on water and batteries not doing great. Yeah. I think I, man, just thinking about that situation alone is pretty scary, and it's a situation I definitely do not want to have to go through without full confidence in what I have on board here. Man, I have so much food too. Talk about on board. It's going to take me a year to eat all this food. Man. All right, well, I'm going to end that here for now. We'll fill in the second half of this after I've made my decision, and we're either continuing south or we are heading to the northwest, back to the States. So thanks for letting me vent and try and figure out this totally messed up situation I have found myself in on, I think it's day 43 at sea now, something like that. Anyway, all right. Thanks for listening.